the worst match in Manchester United's history, the Premier League club set an anti-record in the game against Aston Villa, and instead of announcing his voluntary resignation, Erik Ten Hag said the team is moving in the right direction. I demand a medal for this brilliant Liverpool agent, a massive brawl in the Chelsea vs Nottingham Forest match, 3 missed penalties in the Milan vs Fiorentina game. It's hard to describe what David De Gea was doing yesterday, and Kevin De Bruyne now is transferring to Al Nassr. Football Touch and the top 10 most interesting news stories at the moment. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next episodes. Dani Carvajal's situation is much more serious than initially expected. In the last seconds of the match against Villarreal, the Spanish defender collided with Jeremy Pino and fell to the ground with terrible screams. On a freeze frame, it was clear that Carvajal's knee bent unnaturally as a result of the collision. The medical team had to carry the defender off the field on a stretcher, and he was immediately taken to the hospital, where the necessary tests were performed. They revealed a whole bouquet of injuries. Carvajal was diagnosed with a torn anterior cruciate ligament, a torn lateral collateral ligament, and a tear in the hamstring of his right leg. In the coming days, he will undergo surgery and begin recovery, which will take 8 to 10 months. Despite the severe injury and his advanced age, Real Madrid plans to support their captain by offering him a new contract. This is an extremely unusual move for Florentino Perez, but I can only praise him for such a gesture toward Carvajal. In tough times, it's important to feel the support of the club. Real Madrid showed their captain how much he means to them, but it's also worth noting that the club does not plan to rely solely on Lucas Vázquez until the end of the season. They are looking to sign another right-back in the winter transfer window, although there is no specific name yet. However, Real Madrid is fortunate in that they were already monitoring the right-back market. One option was Trent Alexander-Arnold, but he is unlikely to move to Madrid during the winter window. Meanwhile, João Lu Sanchez from Sevilla is a more realistic option. He was considered a backup in case the transfer of the Englishman didn't work out, and now he has a chance to become Real Madrid's main right-back until the end of the season. Without a doubt, this is a good opportunity for a young player. Now it's just a matter of finding out at what price Sevilla would be willing to let go of their key player. Real Madrid has become fond of the tactic of deceiving the medical staff of national teams to avoid overloading their players and keeping control of their condition. Recently, a scandal erupted with Kylian Mbappé, which I discussed in the previous episode. In short, the French diagnosed a thigh injury, which kept him from joining the national team, but he still played in the next match for Real Madrid against Villarreal. Real Madrid pulled the same trick with another key player. Toward the end of the game against Villarreal, Vinicius Jr. got injured out of nowhere. The replays didn't show anything that would explain how the Brazilian could have gotten hurt. There was no sign of injury at all, yet he was substituted. Yesterday, news emerged that the forward sustained a neck injury and will miss several days, but the most important thing is that this injury will allow Vinicius to skip the upcoming matches for the Brazilian national team in the World Cup qualifiers. With the number of games imposed by FIFA and UEFA, such pseudo-injuries should become a common occurrence. After all, in the national team's camp, they don't really care about the player's health. But even this isn't the main point. The club pays the player huge amounts of money, and no one wants to lose, so to speak, their investments in situations where nothing depends on them. Therefore, despite the absurdity of Vinicius's injury, I understand why Real decided to act this way. Although they certainly put Sharma in a tough position. Kevin De Bruyne's future remains uncertain. The midfielder is not in a hurry to sign a new deal with Manchester City, and for some reason I feel that he will leave the Citizens next summer. Many players from the Blues will be influenced by the fact that Pep Guardiola is leaving the team, and it's quite possible that the Belgian doesn't want to continue his career at Manchester City without the Catalan specialist. I just don't see any passion in Kevin's game. I think he is already fed up. Maybe he will go to MLS, where the quality of the league leaves much to be desired, and De Bruyne won't have to give his all in every match. Or maybe he will head to Saudi Arabia so that his grandchildren, yes, grandchildren and great-grandchildren, won't have to worry about money. Last summer, there was a lot of talk about Kevin possibly trading rainy Manchester for the sandy landscapes of the Arabian Peninsula, but he decided to stay and play alongside Pep in his final season. And next year, nothing will hold De Bruyne back. His contract will end, Guardiola will leave Manchester City, and he can head into football retirement with a clear conscience. Additionally, there is information that Cristiano Ronaldo really doesn't want to see De Bruyne on his team and is pressuring the management of Al Nassr to make a decent offer for the Belgian. How can the Saudis refuse their main star? Mundo Deportivo reports that Al Nassr is preparing to offer De Bruyne £700,000 a week. This is about twice what he earns at Manchester City right now, and he won't find such money anywhere else. Therefore, it's quite possible that next season, Ronaldo and De Bruyne will play together in Al Nassr jerseys. Juventus may help Barcelona get rid of a player whom all Blaugrana fans ridicule. At the start of the season, the Turin club lost Arkadiusz Milik. The Pole injured his knee, underwent surgery, and will be out for a long time. The team no longer has any profile central strikers left, and if something happens to Dusan Vlahovic, Juventus will have a tough time. There were talks about buying a new forward last summer, but for some reason, the management of Bianconeri decided to stick with just the Serbian. In winter, the Turin club wants to make up for lost time and sign a replacement for Vlahovic. However, they have chosen a questionable target. Various sources have reported that Juventus is interested in Ferran Torres and will try to take him from Barcelona during the winter transfer window. Those who watch every match or closely follow the Catalan media should understand that Ferran cannot be considered a reinforcement for anyone. He has been in the Catalan capital for quite some time, and it seems that with each season, he plays worse. Even the arrival of Flick did not help the forward regain the level of play he had while at Valencia. But maybe Juventus has a plan to turn Ferran into a good striker. There have been too many different publications recently writing about Juventus's interest in the Spaniard. Therefore, I dare to assume that the Turin club is genuinely interested in the Barcelona player. Torres, for his part, would like to continue his career at Barcelona, but what prospects await him in a team with so many higher quality attacking players remains unclear. The Juventus lineup will at least appear. There is a ghost of a chance to secure a spot in the starting lineup. The source writes that the Catalans will demand €30 million for the striker, but honestly, I wouldn't pay more than 20. Despite his young age and good work history, Ferran does not possess qualities that would make him worth €30 million. In yesterday's episode, I talked about the possible move of Mohamed Salah to Paris, but there's also a small chance for his transfer to Saudi Arabia. He is relatively young and can still play at the highest level for a couple of seasons, but it's worth keeping in mind a backup plan in case the negotiations with PSG fall through. According to the source, one of the strongest clubs in the country, Al Ahly, is in constant contact with the Egyptian striker, but during negotiations, he made it clear to the Saudis that he would prefer to stay in Europe if given the opportunity. Otherwise, he could go to football retirement. At the same time, this club is negotiating with another Liverpool leader. According to Couch of Said, Van Dijk has made it onto Al Ahly's priority transfer list for the next transfer window. The Dutchman's contract expires at the end of the season, and negotiations for an extension have yet to begin. It would be amusing if two such top players moved to the Middle East at the same time. What would Liverpool's management do? While the names of candidates to replace Salah have long been on the table, losing Van Dijk was not in the scouts' plans, and they will have to work hard to find a replacement for this player. I can't even imagine the player who could be an equivalent replacement for the Dutch defender, and without him, Liverpool will definitely struggle. If things start to heat up, they might try to take Ronald Araujo from Barcelona. He fits the profile, but he gets injured too often. Still, that's a lot of money, and Liverpool's management is not used to splurging on squad reinforcements. With a player to replace Van Dijk, it might be best to hold off for now. I expected Unai Emery to put an end to Erik's career in Copenhagen at Old Trafford, but his team seems too exhausted. After grabbing 3 points against Bayern, they came out rather limp in the clash against Manchester. It was very difficult to watch the course of that match, as neither team created any real threat near the opponent's goal. Statistically, it turned out to be the worst match of the Premier League season. Neither team managed to score, ending with a 0-0 draw. Thus, United has only 4 points after 7 rounds and set their own anti-record. Never before have they started so poorly in Premier League history. The only worst start was in the 1989-90 season when MU earned just 7 points in 7 rounds. But back then, the EPL as a tournament did not exist yet. Nonetheless, the genius sitting in the manager's chair of the Red Devils claims that his team played well. United played well, controlling the game defensively. The attacking game was equal. We are showing resilience. This whole season against Tottenham, we conceded 3 times, remaining in Rome, yet we still tried to win. Today we played our 4th match without conceding a goal, which shows we are moving in the right direction, said Nassr. On the one hand, if they didn't lose by a crushing score, they indeed played quite well. But on the other hand, it does not befit the Manchester United coach to talk about any right direction when his team is sitting in 14th place in the EPL. In my opinion, this is a disgrace. No, it's not just disgraceful, it's shameful. Where is the competitive spirit? Where is the aggression? Where is the pressure on a squad that cost €600 million? Only questions and no answers. Although the match against Aston Villa did not end in Ten Hag's dismissal, I consider it necessary to look at his potential successors. The main precedent has been, is, and remains the assistant to the Dutchman, Ruud van Nistelrooy. But here's the problem, the main candidate does not want to become the team's coach, he considers it a betrayal of Ten Hag, who brought him to Manchester. Also, in his short coaching past, Van Nistelrooy experienced a similar betrayal while being the coach of PSV and does not want to be part of such a murky story. In short, a strong Dutch friendship will not allow Van Nistelrooy to sideline Ten Hag. He is leaving Manchester following his captain, but that is not certain. Among the other candidates, I especially like the name Simone Inzaghi, but he is unlikely to want to trade Milanese stability for Manchester's roller coaster. What a shame! With such resources, he could turn the Devils into a candy, if the management hasn't already tired of throwing away €200 million every transfer window. The other candidates do not impress me. According to the latest information, Manchester is also keeping an eye on Max Allegri and Gareth Southgate. Which of these names evokes less of a reflex in you? I can just imagine how wonderful United would be under the guidance of either of these 2 coaches. Their play, even with a relatively attacking philosophy, cannot please the fans. And if the team is led by someone who prefers to kick the ball sideways, then I personally will have to forget about such a phenomenon as a United match. Now, it seems, there are not the dullest people in the management, so I think they will hand the coaching chair over to someone with a more modern football philosophy. Pogba has received the right to be suspended not for 4 years, but for just 1.5 years, and he should return to the field soon. However, this will no longer happen in the jersey of Juventus Turin. The parties have decided to terminate the contract by mutual agreement, as reported by the king of insider information, Fabrizio Romano. This means that this information can be trusted. What will happen to the future of the Frenchman? Where will he continue his career? Journalists have already compiled a list of options, and I suggest we take a look at it. Of course, at the top of the list is a move to Saudi Arabia. Where else can a fallen star once again feel the taste of football? There may be plenty of contenders from the Arabian Peninsula. Any second one could offer Pogba a salary on par with the best clubs in Europe. But there is also an option where the midfielder remains in the football elite. He could go play back home. A source claims that Pogba would fit well in Luis Enrique's team, but the Frenchman should also consider options like Marseille, Lille, and Monaco. Naturally, newspapers have also reported on a possible transfer to MLS. In Messi's team, there are still enough places not occupied by top performers. As far as I remember, Pogba was once one of them. I will also play this game and allow myself to speculate on where the Frenchman could continue his career. It seems to me that he would not hurt Barcelona right now. Just don't fall off your chairs. The Blaugrana has a pronounced problem with their central line this season. As soon as one player recovers, another immediately ends up on the injury list. And since we don't know anything about Pogba's fitness, he could become a rotation player, a kind of a savior, if you will, when Barcelona lacks midfielders. Of course, he himself is quite fond of lying in a hospital bed, but the Catalan club is already used to an overcrowded infirmary. At least there is hope that Pogba will regain his former level and become an important player for the team. Flick set the trend for penalty kicks yesterday in the match between Girona and Atletico Bilbao in the middle of the first half. The defender of the Catalans somehow awkwardly ran in his penalty area and tripped the Basque striker. After consulting with VAR, the referee pointed to the spot, but Alex Negu had no trouble saving the ball. The second penalty was awarded at the beginning of the next half. By the way, this half turned out to be more eventful. The ball was approached by the Atletico legend, Inaki Williams, who weakly rolled the ball to the center, and once again, Negu easily saved the shot. The match continued, but at some point, VAR advised the main referee that the Argentine goalkeeper stepped over the goal line during the shot, and Atletico were allowed to retake it. This time, the team captain, Ander Herrera, decided to try his luck. And what did he do? He rolled the ball to the center again, another easy save for the Girona goalkeeper. However, Christian Stu surely converted his penalty in the last minutes, and the Catalans won that match. In the match between Fiorentina and Milan, 3 penalties were also awarded, 1 by the players of the Fiorentina and 2 by the players of the Rossoneri. But here we did not see such unremarkable shots. All 3 players struck well, and it was only thanks to the saves of the goalkeepers that the ball did not end up in the net. Manchester United fans watching the match were probably thinking about De Gea, why don't you save penalties this confidently in our team? The Spaniard caught a bit of luck in that match. He not only saved 2 penalties but also made 5 additional saves and became the player of the match, at least for me personally. Chelsea and Nottingham Forest had a quite entertaining match filled with numerous moments. Don't let the final score fool you. In my opinion, there should have been at least twice as many goals, but the goalkeepers performed excellently. However, the most interesting episode occurred towards the end of the second half when the teams went wall to wall. It all started when Neco Williams pushed Marc Cucurella, who fell to the ground. Levi Colwill immediately jumped on the offender of his partner and team manager, after which a fight broke out between the players. Cole Palmer decided not to intervene in the conflict and calmly sat on the grass, silently watching what was happening. On the other hand, Nicholas Jackson charged at the Nottingham players with his fists and landed a punch on one of them. As reported after the match, the disciplinary committee will deal with the episode involving the forward and suspend him from several games. At the same time, there is talk of a £50,000 fine for Chelsea, but I don't understand why the club needs to be punished in such an episode, as no one really got hurt, and these skirmishes happen, well, periodically. However, for Chelsea's management, some measly £50,000 is, in principle, nothing. It's even less than Mudrik's weekly salary, and there are 20 such Mudriks in the squad, so they won't be significantly affected. The referee, by the way, reacted quite calmly to the mass brawl, issuing just 3 yellow cards to the main instigators and continuing the match. Thank you for being with us. Stay tuned for football news, subscribe to the channel and like the video. Until next time.